so much for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew.
Welcome. There was a letter that was circulated by members of the Finance Committee, and you're the only Republican who did not join in opposing the public option. Does that mean you're holding out the possibility of joining in a compromise, a bipartisan compromise?
Well, I'm certainly looking for bipartisanship. I don't think that a public national plan needs to be constructed that goes head-to-head with the private insurers. I think that a fallback plan in the event that the private plans do not work to provide affordable quality health insurance to Americans is the way to go. And so I know some of my side view that as a government option as well. But I do think we have an obligation to make sure that every American has access to affordable plans that have quality standards as well, not just on choices, but affordability and quality.
What do you think about Democratic Senator Ken Conrad, the Budget Committee's proposal for cooperatives, non-government cooperatives that would provide insurance?
Well, you know, that was an issue under discussion today, and I commend Senator Conrad for offering it. It's an innovative proposal. Obviously, we haven't seen anything in concrete form. States today can create co-ops, as a matter of fact, but we want to make sure that we're not just incorporating the status quo. In other words, if these co-ops were to be formed and Americans still could not have access to affordable quality plans, then you really do have to have a contingency plan with a fallback plan of some kind to make sure that you have the conditions to ensure that Americans do have access to affordable plan. Today, for example, in a state like Maine, you don't have the purchasing power necessary to leverage competitive prices, so it really has kept so many people and so many small businesses out of the market. So we want to make sure that's not what we repeat as we try to reform and provide universal access and coverage to all Americans.
So you want to make sure that if there is something like this private cooperative, that it does expand health care options enough to those who need it. What about the AMA, which the doctors came out today against the public option, and that could be a major obstacle to what the president's trying to accomplish, couldn't it?
Yeah, but yes, and there are different ways, though, of devising alternatives that could achieve the goal. If everybody agrees that we have to make sure Americans get access to an affordable plan that has the quality standards, then we have to determine how best to affect that. We want the private markets to work, but we can't depend on them necessarily given what we're facing today. So we create the standards, we create the competition, but if in the event that that fails, you have to make sure that Americans have immediate access. I'm not talking 5 or 6 years down the road, but now in terms of having access to affordable plan. I mean, that's the key. And so I will develop an option to create the conditions for the entry of a fallback in the event, if we go the co-op route, for example, that no matter what, that Americans will have access to it, rather than having a national plan at the outset that competes with private plans that may deter many private plans from entering the market and create adverse conditions, because obviously the government would have an enormous advantage under that scenario.
Clearly. One issue, though, that does come to mind is cost and savings. The president